Nerdcast assemble!
Stay dandy, baby.
In my review of the very first episode of Deca-Dence, I called the series like a steampunk action anime series set in a post-apocalyptic future, and in many ways, it still carries those elements. However, the second episode of the series gives us a twist which is so freaking insane, it has completely changed my entire thought process on what type of anime series Deca-Dence is going to be. So, I'm going to go ahead and put up a big spoiler warning. If you have not watched the second episode of Deca-Dence, go ahead and go watch it, then come back to this review, because this is where things get weird. Alright, you still here? Here we go. So, apparently everything we knew about Deca-Dence is wrong. It is not exactly a post-apocalyptic series. It is actually a giant VR MMO game which is being used by little intergalactic robot aliens to fulfill their action fantasies. That's literally what's going on in the show. See, at the very end of the last episode, we had this very small scene where we got to see all of these super cartoony little robot people who were living on some other planet. And I had no idea what it actually had to do with the show. They didn't give any sort of hint to this whatsoever. It's not until this episode right here where we actually get to learn that a lot of the people that exist in the world of Deca-Dence are actually these small little robots who actually live in space, and they come to this planet in order to play this VR MMO game. It's some sort of video game to them, and they're actually all of the Gear soldiers. That's why in the last episode, when you saw a lot of them, they all had weird, different colored skin and crazy cosmetic looks to them, because they're quite literally the avatars that are being used by these cutesy little aliens. It's basically sold as this big adventure where you get to go to this massive fortress Deca-Dence and fight against monsters in a video game style tournament. It is weird as shit, and it just so happens that one of the main characters of the series, Kaburagi, the current boss of Natsume, is none other than basically the main robot character of the series. We actually get to see that he is one of these alien creatures, and his actual alien form, which goes by the name of Kaburagi, might be one of the goofiest little things that I have ever seen. That's where this gets really weird. The absolute stylistic difference between these goofy little robot aliens and the more realistic human-type characters. Are you still with me? Okay, let's go ahead and jump in. So, basically at the beginning of the episode, we get a scene picking up from the end of the last one where they had this big battle with all of the Godal monsters, and we get to see that even some of these warriors actually lost their lives. Now, I'm assuming that within this world, there are actually real humans who are going to fight, and they're mixed in with these other alien creatures who have weird colored skin, who are actually the ones who are the robots from space, and they're sort of fighting along with them. Now, the reason this is important is, of course, we get to see that there are humans that actually do exist within this world, but they're unaware of anything that's really going on. Hence why, when someone dies, they actually react to it as if it's a natural death. For these weird robotic creatures which are creating these, like, avatar humans, for them, it means nothing. It's like a video game. They can get hurt, they can die, they can repeat, they can get right back into the game. And this is where the dynamic between Kaburagi and Natsume is going to get very interesting. You see, most of this episode is actually a big flashback sequence of showing how Kaburagi was actually a part of this alien group and how he was involved with this group of ranking players and how they used to go to Deca-Dence and battle against these creatures, and we get to see like how this entire world works when they actually like go to fight and do all this crazy stuff, and how he has these intense rivalries with all of these other people who are currently ranking in this game. We get to see that there are also consequences for playing this game. If you actually cheat at it, you're actually going to end up getting basically decommissioned. There's this one character who goes by the name of Mikey, another goofy-looking alien who desperately wants to be a top ranker just like Kaburagi, and he wants to learn the secrets of basically cheating and being the best in the game. And when he actually ends up doing this, he gets caught by the people who are actually in charge of all of this, and they straight up just decommission him. His other teammates who went along with this decided not to work with this organization, and they themselves were actually sent to sort of like a rehabilitation camp where essentially they're going to be reprogrammed. This is where you get to see that Kaburagi realizes that the organization that he's a part of is not something to look up to, not something to be a part of, something that he might actually end up rebelling against, and that's because it explains a scene from the first episode where he was taking sort of like that weird injection thing and putting it in people's necks. He was actually sort of like getting a little bit of data from them as well as their chips, because the only way that he's able to survive this big event where he and his friends got caught cheating is that he's going to have to become an agent of this organization, where he's going to have to try and find bugs that exist within the game. And this leads to what is the best scene at the very end of the episode. This is an important scene where Kaburagi actually learns that Natsume is a bug in the system. Now, I'm really liking this twist so far because now we have someone who is a real human who's in on the inside. The reason that she's considered a bug is that she's actually considered dead by the system. I'm assuming that when she lost her arm when she was a little girl, they basically just called her dead, and then after that, she sort of continued to exist within this like weird sort of system created by these alien robot creatures. So basically now he realizes that she is like a bug in the system, but as opposed to basically just sort of like taking her down and taking her chip away and sort of reporting her to the higher ups, he decides that he's actually going to teach her to fight. In a way, he's teaching a human to fight back against the system, a system that he is currently a part of. Following me? I know, it's weird as shit. So what's the rundown on the second episode of Deca-Dence? I don't even really know what to say. I was kind of speechless after watching this episode, to be perfectly honest, because I didn't see this coming at all, and to be honest, it's got me even more interested in the show. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I liked the first episode of Deca-Dence, but to me it felt very stock. It felt like the type of show that I'd seen so many times, just with a slightly different cosmetic change. This is the episode that has completely turned it all around, and I think is one that's going to end up making it one of the most intriguing shows of the entire season, if only for this incredible twist and the extreme art style changes between both of these events that are going on. I mean, at the beginning of the episode, like when they finally started to show like what Deca-Dence was, and they were playing it off like it was like a commercial for these alien robots, I was just scratching my head, just going, what the fuck is going on? Why is this? What is the deal with all this stuff? And then you have these super cartoony aliens that are introduced, these little robot people, which just completely clash with everything else that is going on in the series. And it's genius the way that it's actually handled. This was so great the way that they were actually able to hide all of this too, because I remember looking at some of the previews of Deca-Dence, and they didn't hint at any of this. This is like a complete just flip-flop of what the actual show is actually going to be about, and I love it too, because I know that when the first episode aired, a lot of people were kind of like, it's okay. They were kind of lukewarm on it. It felt kind of like Attack on Titan. Now it's something else different, and you can't deny it for being creative. Visually, it was just such a jarring-looking episode too. Like I said, the look of the alien world and those characters is completely different than anything we saw that actually takes place in the human world. And it can be kind of strange, I have to admit, but I really love the way that it works, and I just can't wait to see ultimately where the show is going. Like I said, my current theory is that Kaburagi is actually going to basically rebel against those that he's working against, and he's going to try and help the humans and sort of going up against them and stopping this game from actually happening in the first place. We even get to see, like, there's this big wide shot of the planet where everything is sort of, like, enclosed in this massive bubble, and I'm assuming that the alien people are sort of, like, the ones that are controlling all of this, maybe even creating the creatures themselves. I mean, there's even a scene at the end of the episode where we get to see, like, where all of the gear soldiers go, and we get to see that Kaburagi is taking Natsume there, and basically it looks like a completely different place. It looks like a hub in a video game world where you can upgrade your weapons, the cosmetics of your character. I mean, it's just so jarring and strange. But I love that it decided to do this, because it has immediately made the show 10 times more interesting when before it was just sort of okay. And again, the art style and the animation and the production value, I think, really went up in this episode just because of how uninhibited it is now. They're not having to hide anything, so they just went full force through it the entire time. Visually speaking, I felt that this episode was a lot better looking, especially all of the scenes where we got to see, like, the robot characters going into their avatars and fighting against the Gadol. That entire sequence looked amazing. I truly loved that. So, yeah, this episode is just weird. It left me speechless, but it's got me even more excited for Deca-Dence now. Now, I really just cannot wait to hear from other people. That's my favorite thing about today's review, is getting to see what you guys thought about this big twist. So, I'm going to give the episode a 5 out of 5. It completely shocked and surprised me. But what about you guys? What did you think about the second episode episode of Deca-Dence. It's essentially changed everything about the series. Do you like this twist? Do you not like this twist? Do you have any theories as to what's going to be going on in the future of the series, the relationship between Kaburagi, the alien robot, and Natsume, the bug in the system? What do you think is actually going to go down for the future of the series, and are you going to continue to tune in? Let's just talk all about it in the comment section below. So thank you guys so much for watching this review. Please subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this one. If you did like this video, make sure to hit that like button. Helps out these videos tremendously. If you are subscribed to the channel, make sure to hit the bell notification icon. It's going to let you know when all of my videos are released. I would also like to thank all of my patrons from my Patreon page. You guys have been making some very generous donations, and I really appreciate all of it, as well as giving me some great feedback on all of the videos that I've been making. Remember, if you guys make a small donation, I'll review an anime series of your choice. So there it is, my friends. I'll see you all next time, and as always, stay dandy, baby.